Alright, you guys, welcome to episode 2, Philbrick's driving show. Right off the bat, let me tell you 2 things I learned by doing this second day in a row. I wanted to do it right when I was pulling off from my home, but then it was like, we're pausing because you have a bad connection, because it was still picking up the house Wi-Fi. So then I was like, okay, I don't know how much of it's gonna catch me talking, so I was like, we're gonna stop that. Then I started again. And then I wanted to say Philbrick's driving show, but I was going to say FP and it just came out Effer. So welcome to Effer. And I was like, nope, we are not doing that. So I think once I'm like entering the freeway, then I will start, because then there is no turning back and I shouldn't have any of those problems. But welcome to day 2. I wasn't sure yesterday when I talked to you all if I was going to keep this up, but as I was putting it on to YouTube and creating a playlist for this, they have an option to make it a podcast. And what does that mean? Well, basically, let me tell you. So I was doing my own podcast here, Philbrick, the show, through something called Anchor, which got bought out by Spotify. So now it's Spotify for podcasters. And previously you could listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, or Google Podcasts, but Google Podcasts is no more. They ended it, and so they wanted you to transfer all your stuff over to YouTube, because Google owns YouTube, if you did not know. But I was like, no, we're not moving my stuff over to YouTube. I don't want to throw people over there, because really the only way that I can monetize at the moment is by getting more listeners, followers, ratings on Spotify. So I'm pushing people always to go to Spotify first. But if you don't have Spotify and you listen to Apple and you're more comfortable there, okay, you can listen to Apple Podcasts. But is that helping me or the business? It's not. So, like, I would rather you just listen. So if it's a big thing, like, just keep listening on Apple Podcasts, that's fine. But if you have the opportunity to listen on Spotify, definitely do that, because that will be a good help. But anyways, I was getting that up on YouTube, and I was like, well, I don't want to do my own podcast on here, so let's make this its own show. So it is a short 10 to 15 minute show, as you already know if you watched yesterday's. If not, go back and watch that. But I'm headed to the gym, so let me ask you, starting out, have you worked out yet? Have you exercised? Have you gone for a walk? Have you done something to get yourself out of the house to take care of yourself and your health? When I was watching back the video from yesterday, I was like, yourself and health. It sounds so nice put together, but I think a lot of that rings true of, you do need to get yourself out of the house or out of your workplace. Even if you are working full-time in an office, it is so important to get out at any chance you can. Even if you're, getting out just to stretch your legs, take a 10-minute break, a breather, go get some coffee, something to drink, move around the office, but ideally you're getting outside. Get out. Get out! Like the movie, Get Out. But I am headed to the gym now, so that's where I'm headed. And yesterday, I'll say what I did yesterday. I have started getting into calisthenics. I mean, I've been doing that for a while now. If you've watched my personal account, if you follow me over there, then you'll know I wanted to do an L sit, and I want to do a handstand, and one of those, like, I think it's called a 90-degree hold, but picture like a push-up, but your legs are floating. Super hard, and it's all like your abs, full body, everything. And for me, that's been really helpful, because it gives me something to focus on and to have a goal to hit. Because I think when it comes to goals in your life, if you have things that are too broad, so for me, because I'm very thin, I want to gain muscle and gain weight, which I don't want to gain fat, but I want to gain, weight to fill out, that sort of thing. But while that sounds very like, oh, that makes sense, it's so broad, because what does that actually mean? I don't know. It means I've gone on and off of like trying to eat more. I've tried the powders, and then half the people say, no, those powders are bad. These are bad. These are good. I take these 3 or 4. I'm like, I don't want to take 3 or 4, and I don't want to just keep eating. So for me, that's kind of been a no-go, and it's not a good way to motivate myself to get to the gym. And so this is kind of a new, I'm waking up to see, like, maybe if I am more specific with what I'm doing, it will get me to the gym doing specific workouts to then hit the goal that I'm trying to have. And I'm currently in stop still traffic, so it'll be a little longer than 10 minutes today. unless I just cut it out. But that has been really helpful, because now when I go to the gym, I have kind of like preset things I do if I want to be working out with weights. But now I can add in some other things that are going to help strengthen the different areas of my body that I need to have strengthened, so that I can do those things I mentioned. So that has been really fun. But I took the last week off, two different reasons. I had the filming of the masterclass last Monday, so we're like a week and a half from when we had that, and it took so much out of me. If you follow me on any of my social media or sign up for the email list, you will have seen that it was just, quite a journey to get through the filming of that masterclass. So after I finished that, it was like, okay, I still have so much work to do, and kind of going to the gym kind of dropped off. I was still going to the gym, but it was not with the same vigor, intensity of like sharing on my personal stories, like, here's me exercising at home in between doing all of this. So that was one reason I would say why I kind of dropped off of going full force with the workouts and all that. But then I also kind of injured my shoulder, and so it wasn't a terrible injury, but it was enough where it was affected when I would swim. And as I mentioned yesterday in the episode, I really like swimming. That for me is fun. So I need to be careful if I'm coming across. The guy is on his phone right next to me, and there's so much room in front of him. But I wanted to make sure I could heal my shoulder and not make it worse. And most of the calisthenics exercises that I were doing require your shoulders and using that. So I'm now all the way better. So I'm excited to kind of jump back into that. Two things I did do though, if you're interested on the calisthenics side, is I had been working up to doing tricep dips. So that's where they have like two poles and you grab them and then you lift your body up and down. And then a alternate for doing pull-ups, because a video I saw said a lot of people struggle with pull-ups. I can do a few of them, which looks surprising if you see me, but I'm like, no, I can do that. But a modified version is you use those same two poles, you grab them here with your legs kicked out, like you're laying back, and then you pull yourself up. And then you're pulling most of your weight, but you're not pulling the full weight. So that has been something I've been doing, because you can really feel it in your biceps. And I'm like, I just feel strong when I do this. But that's what I did yesterday, as well as some exercises for my back. But that's a little bit enough about the working out. Let me tell you about what I have been working on today with the business, because yesterday I had a meeting with the mentor that I have, and he shared a lot of good stuff. And I think the one interesting takeaway that I got from it was, so I'm coming out with this masterclass, and I listened to a YouTube show that him and another guy had talking about ad spend, and you need to price things high enough so that you can spend enough on what you are selling so that you don't lose money by running ads. And so I was like, great, what I'm selling, I want it to eventually be around $200, which means in theory I should be able to spend a lot of money and get it back, still make money. But he said that in general, when it comes to selling courses and classes, there are two different routes that people take that are successful. So everything I just mentioned about, you want a product maybe around 60 to 70. I mean, I didn't mention that, but I'm telling you now, that's what they talked about. Around $60, $70 if possible. Then you can afford to spend $20 to $30 on acquiring a customer. That is more towards the product-based businesses. And so what I'm doing is more service-based, a digital product. And he said for those, there's two routes you can go. The one route is if you have a really expensive class, and he said in the 1,000 range. So we're selling this for 1,000, then you're having to spend a lot more money in ads. And so the only way to justify on the back end of actually making money and being successful with turning people around and acquiring them is to have something that expensive. So that is out. No, I don't have anything that is going to sell for that much now. Hopefully though, in the future, that's something I can work towards. But he said the other thing, which is kind of the route I'm looking into now, is to have, so I have my masterclass here that I'm looking to sell. It's called Ground Zero, starting a small business. So from the ground up, no experience needed. But he said what you would do is have something smaller, so a mini version of that, either completely condensed, or what I'm thinking of is just doing the first section, and you have that much cheaper, so around the $20 to $30, just to draw people in, and then your upsell is to the class. So that was in the moment a little not discouraging, but a little like eye-opening to be like, oh man, I thought I was finally doing something right with having a product that I could charge a decent amount. And it turns out it is going to be a little bit different. But the breakthrough was that today I thought of that I can do that first section, and that will be not terribly too hard to put together, because right now I'm kind of in like a crunch of like, I still need to finish things up with the masterclass. I need to build a landing page. I'm redoing my email software platform system, which I'll talk about in just a bit. So on top of that, now I need to create a new product essentially, and then a new landing page. And I was like, oh, how am I supposed to do that? But I do think I can put something together where I go through the presentation for that first section, because I already have the presentation. All I need to do is show my face and talk through it. And then that's kind of my idea, at least now. I still need to work it out, to have something that I can send and pay ads to get people there. So that way I can make even just a little bit of money. But ideally, the idea would be that as a customer, someone who's getting into the door, you're willing to pay a little bit of money to see like, what's up with this guy? Is it going to be worth it? And then if it is worth it for you as a customer, then you'll gladly pay, $100 to get the full thing, or 150 more to fill it in. And then I also thought within that, which the mentor didn't suggest, but it seems like it would make sense. So like if we have that lower ticket item of like, here's the first section of the class for like $30, 37, whatever it is, then I could also have, hey, are you not ready yet to buy this $35 thing? Then sign up, give me your email, because that's, here, we're at the turn of the drive. But if not, here is a worksheet, like the activity guide that goes along with that first section, because it is on like your mindset, health, building the foundations. So it will still be helpful even if you got the worksheet and worked through that on your own. Ideally, you'd have the full presentation and you would want to buy that. But if not, then that could be a freebie to give away within that. But at the end of the day, it's all pointing towards the same class that I'm doing, and keeps things on track with what I'm looking to do within the business. So it's kind of a long way of saying that, because I'm still kind of working it out, but that's kind of my option, which sounds like it will be the most viable to move forward with the masterclass, rather than being like, I just created something that would be helpful if I had an audience, if I had an email list. So that is something that I will always advise. And if you don't have an email list, start it now. If you're already selling to customers, grab their emails, because building out your email list, having good communication with them, can really lead to pushing your business so far ahead. Where, and I can give an example too, at the old startup I was at, it was a card writing company. And I actually hated every week when we would send the newsletter. Why? Because I had to be in charge of assigning the orders to handwriting artists, and I ran our customer service. And anytime we send a newsletter, guess what? We had a huge uptick in orders for those cards, and then new customers. And with new customers and new orders, you typically get more emails. So none of it was bad. Like for the business, it was great. And that was my first like real life application, even before I've been doing what I'm doing now, to see like, whoa, all you have to do is email the customers and tell them, here's what you could write in your card, or like, here's how you can use blank product in your life today. And so just seeing the power of that, and then thinking if you can make money just by sending an email, like, beautiful. That is something that I would love to do. And so finally, since I'm almost to the gym and we'll be ending this soon, is I mentioned that I don't know, I've talked to so many different people, but there's this newer email platform called Beehiiv, and I've been on Klaviyo, and Klaviyo is still, I would say, a great platform, something that works really well for e-commerce. That's what my mentor said. And that's something I would suggest, just because the learning curve is pretty easy to get on compared to, I just signed up for like a trial with Beehiiv. And so I'm going to try to send out my first newsletter next week, get everything set up. But the cool thing with Beehiiv is it's kind of set up so that if you wanted to just run a business through emailing, you could do that. And the more and more I'm looking into it, I'm like, that's kind of what I want to do. Instead of having, like how my website is now, is that I have a website, I have tons of articles, tons of resources, but does anyone actually go through them? No, to be honest, no. I put a ton of work when I started the business into that. And then even like the email course I created, I'm like, you guys know this was like free on my website and you could just access it at any time. But I need to kind of shift to like, how can I be making money and doing that, and kind of following what my mentor does of keeping everything tight and close knit with like a quality email list, where if he does have new products or ideas, he can email it out to his email list and see, hey, are you guys actually interested in this? If so, here's how you can get plugged in with all of that. And so I am testing it out, but Beehiiv in general so far, just from last night when I jumped on, I'm like, man, this is a whole new thing that I have to learn, and kind of added to like the not overwhelming feeling, but just like a, oh man, I've got another thing I got to learn how to do, to learn how to set it up. Kind of, they have like a website option, because the cool thing is your emails you send, you can save them as blog posts. So when new people come, they can get a taste of how your emails are before deciding if they want to sign up. But because of that, you do have to kind of set up a little bit of a website, and it should be easy, but it's not as easy. It's just frustrating, and I am not very patient. I like card.co, which I will have the affiliate link again if you're watching on YouTube. And they just make it so easy. It's so simple to set up just a landing page, or, you know, kind of like it's not a fake website, but it's not a fully blown website, but it's easy and gets the job done. And that's what I'm going to have to do for a lot of what I'm creating. So in comparison, I'm like, this has a bit more of a learning curve, but if I can get it learned and get it going, then I should be building that strong foundation, as I mentioned yesterday, and then really starting to just move things forward. And that's what I'm kind of figuring out now when I was walking the dog, which, as I mentioned, walking is so great, not only for your health, but you can really think through problems that you have, or, you know, you come to a crossing in the road, you're like, which way do I go? But has really got me thinking of like, okay, what do I want to create with this newsletter, the email list that I'm going for? Who am I going after? What is going to be the mentor? I joined his paid emailing service, so I'll actually link this in the YouTube too, so you can join. Right now, you can get a full year at $99, and he's going to raise it to like $1,000, and provides a lot of good value if you are interested at all in what I'm talking about emailing. And in the first email, when I signed up and paid the $99 for the next year, he had all these videos talking about this. And you know what, you guys, I've completely forgot what I was saying. But he just went so in depth with it. Oh, talking about kind of like the level 2 desires of someone. So when they buy something, it's not just because they want these sunglasses, but they want to fit in and feel cool and look confident. And all right, you guys, are you still there? So my phone said it got too hot, so I wasn't able to finish it. But let me just wrap it up. The inner desires is what the guy was getting at, that you don't necessarily hear from people like, why would you buy these? It's because you need something functional, you need this product for this reason. But you may not know that, like for me in particular, these make me feel super confident. I feel cool, therefore I'm going to be and act more confident. I will just carry myself a different way. So those are more of like the inner desires that you might not know from your customers, but it's something that if you can figure that out, then you know how to create your content that is built around that. So with Philbrick, I think, you know, looking through everything I've gone through in the last year with joining that expensive business program, I ultimately, the reason why I was not very fond of it was because I mostly joined because I wanted friends. Here, this is a nice background, right? And so a lot of the ideas I have of like starting an outdoor adventure community, it's because I want to have friends that go on adventures. Starting a remote workers club, focusing on remote workers, because I want friends that also work from home, that find it hard to get out of the house, to have a social life and not just be working 24/7. I want to have an attraction farm where it's a working farm during the week and then open on the weekends. Why? To bring people in, to connect with others. So I think, as I've been thinking more about Philbrick, I'm like, man, how can we tie that into, like, I think a lot of small business owners, like, you do a lot of the journey on your own, and isn't it more fun if you can start a business with friends, make friends at the same time? So that's what I think initially, which I didn't think I was going to share that, but that is kind of the line of thought that I'm going down, and I'm going to kind of dig into that over the next couple of days, the next few dog walks, and see how we can implement that and get that going. But I have no idea how this is actually going to turn out because, as I mentioned, my phone got too hot and it got paused. But thanks for sticking with me, and I'll check in tomorrow.